Welcome back to the channel, my spooky friends. Tonight, we're venturing into the unsettling world of haunted art. We've got 3 tales of cursed paintings, each with a gaze that chills the soul. So lock your doors, make sure you're alone, and get ready for a dose of art history with a terrifying twist. Our first tale takes us to a dimly lit museum, its halls filled with echoes of forgotten whispers. It's here we find the haunting portrait of the weeping woman. The woman in the painting, her face a mask of sorrow, her eyes red-rimmed and overflowing. Legend has it that the artist, driven to madness by the death of his wife, captured her final moments of grief on the canvas. But some say he captured something far more sinister, her very essence. Visitors to the museum at night claim to hear the soft sound of weeping coming from the exhibit, a gentle sobbing that seems to seep from the very walls, wrapping around you like a cold embrace. Some even say the tears on the woman's face appear to shimmer, as if freshly shed. But the true horror of the weeping woman lies not in the weeping itself, but in its effect on those who witness it. It is said that anyone who sees the tears, who feels the weight of the sorrow emanating from the canvas, will be cursed with a lifetime of unimaginable grief. They say that the woman in the painting, trapped in her eternal sorrow, seeks to share her burden, to find solace by dragging others into her abyss of despair. Some dismiss it as an old wives' tale, a story concocted to keep curious onlookers at bay. But others, those who have felt the icy grip of the unknown, believe. They say the sorrow of the weeping woman is contagious, spreading like a virus through those who dare to witness her pain. Imagine, if you will, standing before that painting, the air thick with the scent of dust and decay, the faint sound of sobs echoing in your ears. As you gaze upon the woman's face, you notice a subtle movement, a single tear, tracing a path down her cheek, leaving a glistening trail in its wake. You try to look away, to break free from the hypnotic pull of her gaze, but something holds you captive. It's as if the sorrow emanating from the canvas has seeped into your very being, filling you with an overwhelming sense of dread. They say that those who are touched by the sorrow of the weeping woman are forever changed, haunted by a sadness they can't explain, a feeling of emptiness that follows them like a shadow. So the next time you find yourself wandering the halls of a museum, be wary of the paintings that adorn the walls. Our next story takes us from the hallowed halls of a museum to the claustrophobic confines of a dusty antique shop. Here, nestled between chipped vases and tarnished silver, hangs the portrait of the unknown man. The man in the portrait, his face half shrouded in shadow, his eyes burning with an unsettling intensity. No one knows who he was or why his image was committed to canvas, but the mystery surrounding his identity pales in comparison to the chilling stories whispered about the portrait itself. It is said that the eyes of the unknown man follow you, no matter where you stand in the room. A feeling of being watched, scrutinized by a presence both unseen and unsettling. Some dismiss it as a trick of the light, an optical illusion. But others, those who have felt the weight of his gaze, know better. But the true terror of the portrait of the unknown man lies not in its unsettling gaze, but in the string of misfortunes that plague those who dare to own it. It's as if the portrait carries a curse, a malevolent energy that infects the lives of those who possess it. Accidents, illnesses, even untimely deaths all seem to follow the portrait like a shroud. One story tells of a wealthy art collector, a man obsessed with acquiring rare and unusual artifacts. He stumbled upon the portrait of the unknown man in a forgotten corner of an estate sale, its price surprisingly low. He saw it as a steal, a valuable addition to his collection. But his triumph was short-lived. Within days of bringing the portrait home, the art collector began to experience a series of unfortunate events. His business ventures failed, his health deteriorated, and his relationships crumbled around him. He became convinced that the portrait was to blame, that the unknown man in the painting was exacting his revenge. Desperate, he tried to destroy the portrait, to break the curse that had gripped his life. But to no avail. The portrait, it seemed, was indestructible. The art collector died a broken man, his life in ruins, his spirit crushed by the weight of the curse. The portrait of the unknown man disappeared after his death, resurfacing years later in another antique shop, its gaze as unsettling as ever. Some say the portrait is cursed by the spirit of the man depicted within, his anger and resentment trapped within the canvas. Others believe the portrait serves as a portal, a gateway through which something sinister enters our world. Whatever the truth may be, one thing remains certain: the portrait of the unknown man is an object to be feared. Imagine, if you will, browsing the cluttered aisles of an antique shop, your fingers trailing over forgotten treasures. You round a corner and come face to face with the portrait of the unknown man, its eyes seeming to pierce your very soul. You feel a shiver run down your spine, a primal instinct telling you to turn away. But you're drawn to it, captivated by the mystery that surrounds it. You've invited something dark and dangerous into your life, and there's no turning back. Chapter 3. The Haunted Self-Portrait. Our final tale takes us to the attic studio of a forgotten artist, a place where creativity once flourished, but now lies dormant, shrouded in shadow and silence. It's here we find the haunted self-portrait, a chilling testament to the artist's descent into madness. The artist, once celebrated for his talent, became consumed by his work. He spent countless hours in his studio, isolating himself from the world, his only companions the faces staring back at him from the canvas. Some say he was searching for a way to capture the true essence of the human soul, to unlock the secrets hidden beneath the surface, but his pursuit of artistic perfection came at a terrible price. The artist's sanity began to unravel, his grip on reality slipping with each stroke of his brush. He became obsessed with his own image, painting and repainting his self-portrait until the lines between art and reality blurred. It was during this descent into madness that the artist created the haunted self-portrait. Legend has it that he poured his very soul into the painting, imbuing it with a life of its own. But instead of achieving artistic immortality, he trapped himself within the canvas, his spirit forever bound to the image of his former self. Those who have dared to gaze upon the haunted self-portrait describe a feeling of unease, as if the eyes of the artist follow their every move. But the true horror lies in the stories of those who have spent any significant time in the presence of the painting. They speak of strange occurrences, unexplained noises, and a feeling of being watched, of being studied by something unseen. Some say the artist's trapped spirit is seeking a way out, a vessel to escape the confines of his painted prison. They say he whispers through the canvas, his voice a low murmur that chills the bone, tempting the curious, the unsuspecting to come closer. One story tells of an art student, eager to prove himself, who volunteered to spend a night alone in the artist's former studio. He scoffed at the stories, dismissing them as mere superstition. He believed that true art transcended the boundaries of life and death, that there was nothing to fear from a haunted painting. But as the night wore on, the art student's confidence began to waver. The silence of the studio was broken by strange sounds, the creaking of floorboards, the rustling of canvases. He felt a constant presence behind him, as if someone or something was watching his every move. He tried to ignore it, to focus on his work, but the feeling of unease intensified. He turned to face the haunted self-portrait, his eyes drawn to the artist's piercing gaze. In that instant, he knew he was not alone. The art student fled the studio that night, his sanity shaken, his skepticism shattered. He refused to speak of what he had seen, but the experience left him forever changed. He abandoned his pursuit of art, haunted by the memory of the artist's eyes, the feeling of something cold and malevolent reaching out from the canvas. The haunted self-portrait remains locked away in the artist's former studio, a chilling reminder of the dangers of obsession, of the thin veil that separates genius from madness. So be wary of the art that hangs upon your walls, for you never know what secrets it may hold. And there you have it, 3 tales of cursed paintings, each more unsettling than the last. Remember, art can be a powerful force, capable of evoking a wide range of emotions. But some creations, it seems, harbor a darkness that extends beyond the canvas. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the shadows. If you enjoyed these tales of cursed art, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more spine-chilling stories. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Until next time, my friends, sleep well, if you can.